Hello everyone, welcome back to Anfield Agenda. It's Craig's night off, so you're stuck with me, and we've got some news pieces, fake or real, you decide. But we got some bits to talk to you about today. So a couple of transfer links, like Gini Wijnaldum, some news about our fixture against Arsenal. And Gerard is an admirer of Trent Alexander-Arnold. We'll go through them, and then if you keep your questions coming in, keep your comments coming in, and then at the end, I'll go through as many of your comments as possible and read them out and talk about them and talk with you lot, because that's my favourite thing to do on a Monday evening. But first of all, I'm going to start with Patson Daka. There's been lots of links with him over the last few weeks and months. He was Haaland's replacement at Red Bull Salzburg in Austria. He's young, he's quick, he's good with both feet, and for me, he's a very, very good option for the summer. The issue is, the league he's playing. For every Haaland, of course, there's a Minamino, and as excited as I am by this kid, I think he scored 20 goals in 18 games in Austria this year. It's important to remember the league he's playing in, there are lots of clubs interested in him, sniffing around him, but it'll be who manages to strike a deal for him. I believe West Ham are interested in the links today. It's been reported by Swiss media that Arsenal, Manchester United and Manchester City are also interested too. So it sounds like a real race to sign Patson Daka, and me personally, I'm really excited by him. But like you say, time will tell whether he can do it in a bigger league, but it won't be long before he does go to a bigger and better league, and it appears that there are many Premier League clubs with their eye on this Zambian youngster. Patson Daka looks a real star, and it wouldn't surprise me if we bring him in the summer, as I say. And as we've spoken about before, it would be a typical Liverpool deal. It really would. We've seen us do business with the Red Bull club before. Obviously, we got Minamino from Salzburg on a cheap deal. And it wouldn't surprise me if we bring Patson Daka to challenge for a position in our front three. He's lethal in front of goal. And for me, in my opinion, it would be a very good addition. Moving on from Patson Daka, and remember to keep all your comments coming in. Let me know what you think about all the stories we go through. Give me any questions you want to ask me, football related, non-football related. I'll answer as many as possible. We'll go through all at the end, your comments and questions, but I'll carry on with the news stories for now. Next up is Aaron Ramsey, of course, formerly of Arsenal, 30 years old now at Juventus. He joined there a couple of years ago on a free transfer, and he's played just 2 full matches this season for Juventus. He's currently injured. His career has been plagued by injuries. Let's be honest, even in his Arsenal days, he was rather injury prone. But on his day, he's a good player. We've been linked with him once again today. I don't know if you'll remember, but before he joined Juventus, we were one of the clubs that were sniffing around him. Apparently, we were really interested in him, and his agent said at one point that if he was to stay in the Premier League, he would join Liverpool. It doesn't surprise me that we're being linked. It's highly suggested that he will leave Juventus in the summer. And therefore, I expected these links, to be honest. The report by Calcio Mercato. I hope I've pronounced that right. Sorry to any Italians if I've just butchered that. But according to them, us and West Ham are interested. I think it's more a West Ham transfer than a Liverpool one. 30 years old. I can't see him being the Gini replacement. It doesn't strike me as a Liverpool deal. But there is the fact that, of course, we were interested in him in the past. James Pearce released an article last year. I think it was at the start of 2020, saying that missed transfers of the past, and Aaron Ramsey's name was on there. He's clearly a player that we've been interested in before, but now I think that there is no credibility in the link whatsoever. I cannot see us signing him, but I do expect him to leave Juve this summer, and I do expect him maybe to go to a team like West Ham, who he is linked to in this report. But as I say, I think that Well, let me just say this is most likely confirmed bollocks. But moving on, some more stuff on Genie Wijnaldum. With me and Craig chatted about him last night on this late night agenda. Craig did a bit on him on Saturday night as well. Obviously, we saw that article in the Times, I believe, yesterday, basically saying that he'd agreed to move to Barcelona, which is, the worst kept secret in football at the moment, I'd say. But today, Dave Maddock has had his say on it. Dave Maddock is known for his reports on Liverpool and Liverpool players. And he says that Liverpool are increasingly resigned to losing Genie Wijnaldum at the end of the season. Dave Maddock claims that Wijnaldum has made it clear he will not sign Liverpool's offer, which they are understood to have left on the table since last summer. And it appears that we haven't, offered him a new contract since. So, yeah, it's a big loss. Genie Wijnaldum is a great player and has been a great player for us. People ask, oh, well, is he a Liverpool legend? Well, look what he did against Barcelona in the year that we won the Champions League. Who got us back in the top four with a goal against Middlesbrough, the first goal against Middlesbrough? It was him, of course. And who scored probably the most important goal away in Rome in the semi-final for Kiev? Genie Wijnaldum. So for me, he's certainly a Liverpool legend. And, when he leaves, it'll be a very, very sad day. But like Maddox says there, like the article in the Times said yesterday, I think us as Liverpool fans now and everyone involved in Liverpool Football Club is likely to be resigned to losing Wijnaldum this summer. You don't leave a deal this late if there's one that's going to be struck. And I do believe that he will leave, and I think it's going to be a huge loss for us. You only have to look at his minutes played and Jurgen Klopp to know how important he is to this side that has been outstanding in the last few years and one of the best Premier League sides of all time. So, I think he's an outstanding player. He's one of the most underrated players in the Premier League. And for me, as I say, it's going to be a disappointing day when Genie Wijnaldum departs, and it looks like we're getting ever so close to that day. Remember to keep your questions coming in. Let me know what you think about what I'm talking about. If you've got any other questions that you want to ask me, I should be on until about 9 or maybe even 9:15. It depends how interesting your topics in the comments are. But yeah, to move on to the next news story, and that is about Liverpool's fixture with Arsenal. Now, that has been rescheduled. Obviously, it was meant to be on Sunday, Easter Sunday, April the 4th. And because our fixture with Real Madrid in Madrid is on Tuesday, that fixture had to be moved. However, the Wizards of the Premier League have decided that, oh, you know what? Let's move to 8 o'clock on Saturday. Like, that will help us any much. So, 72 hours before we play in Madrid in that massive game in the Champions League in Madrid, the Premier League has decided to throw in our fixture against Arsenal, which is also huge for us based on our current league form and the fact that we can't really drop any more points in the hunt for the top four. So, I'm annoyed with the people who do this fixture scheduling once more. I know I won't be the only one. I know Jurgen Klopp will probably be extremely annoyed with this decision too. Why not move it to an early kickoff on a Saturday? It makes sense. Think about it. And these people wonder why, English teams don't tend to do too well in Europe. I know it's changed over the last few years, but they ask for it with their fixture scheduling, don't they? So, yeah, very annoying, very frustrating. I get that, if they'd put it earlier, they would have had to move other games and stuff like that. But I don't give a flying fuck, to be honest with you. It seems absolutely ludicrous that it will just, this game will take place only 72 hours before we face Madrid. And, it's not the first time we've had these scheduling issues happen last year where we were meant to play 2 games in 24 hours. We had to play the kids in the Carabao Cup against Villa. I know that wasn't the Premier League, but even still, it's not the first time, and it certainly won't be the last. So I don't know why I'm surprised, to be honest with you. Gerrard praising Trent is next. Steven Gerrard, obviously currently Rangers manager, looking to go undefeated all season in the Scottish Premier League. It looks like they're going to go invincible. They drew with Celtic, of course, at the weekend. Buzzing buzzing for Steven Gerrard. Got his first Scottish League title, done well in Europe once more. Disappointing that they went out in the last 16. I feel like they should have got past Slavia Prague in a game that was, plagued with incidents that don't belong in the game. But nonetheless, I think Gerrard spoke sense once more with this. And I saw a lot on Twitter suggesting that perhaps he's point scoring because he's, of course, most likely to be Liverpool's manager in the future. But he's come out and he's given Trent Alexander-Arnold a lot of praise. Obviously, Trent dropped from this England squad, and it is dropped because Gareth Southgate's come out and said that he doesn't think he's performed at the best of his ability this year. He believes that right back is a position where England have a lot of talent, which is true and everybody knows. But Gerrard has basically called all that bollocks without saying that, of course. Managers tend to try and be as nice to each other as possible, but he has said that he's confused at Southgate's decision. He believes that Trent is England's best right back and one of the best right backs in the world, and he says that he is there as a person to talk to if Trent wants that, which is good to hear. I'm sure Trent will pursue that. If he doesn't, he's a bit of an idiot, because if Steven Gerrard says to you, if you want to call me, I would be dialing that number straight away. I do think it's nice for Trent, and I'm sure it's a bit of a confidence boost for Trent. And I've seen hearing that from Gerrard after having his confidence hit by this shock decision by Southgate to drop him. For large parts of the season, of course, Trent hasn't been at his best. Many Liverpool players haven't. But nonetheless, I still think Trent is one of the best right backs in the world. I'm a huge fan of him. He's reinvented the fullback position. For me, I think it's a ludicrous decision from Southgate. I really, really do. I do expect Trent to be in that Euro squad. I just hope, rather than using it as something that hits his confidence, he uses it as a motivation tool to get himself in that squad for the European Championship. So yeah, I'm happy with the praise from Gerrard, and I hope Trent is too. A bit more to talk about. Xabi Alonso looks likely to be announced as the Borussia Mönchengladbach manager, and I am absolutely delighted for him. I have a new German team to keep an eye on. I've liked Borussia Mönchengladbach under Rose. They've been hit heavily by Rose deciding to go to Dortmund at the end of the season, and that news being released when it was. They look poor against Manchester City. They're not in the best of form in the league, and Alonso will have a real job on his hands and a real rebuild, as I'm expecting quite a few of Mönchengladbach's players to depart in the summer as well. I'm delighted for him, and the thought for us Liverpool fans of Gerrard as our number one and Alonso as our number two when Klopp departs, I think is outstanding to think of. But no, his first team managerial role, of course, in football. So I'm delighted for Xabi Alonso, and I hope he does really, really well there. So yeah, there's a quick scan through all the Liverpool news today. Any I've missed or I've not seen, let me know in the comments. Ask me any questions you want. Point me in the direction to any news that you've seen today, and I will answer as many as I possibly can. As I say, I will be here either till 9 or 9:15, whatever you want me to. So here we go. Let's have Unknown J.13 says, do you think we will get top 4 at the end of the season? I've spoke about this before, mate. I think it's unlikely, but it's possible. It's not out of the window at all. It's still very much possible. It looks like Leicester are too far away to be caught right now, and they're in very good form. Of course, Manchester United 1 point above them, and you don't think they'll drop out either. You've got the likes of Chelsea, West Ham, Spurs, us, Arsenal, even Aston Villa, who have a game in hand, fighting for that 4th spot. And as I say, it looks like it's possible. Thomas Tuchel has turned Chelsea into a force that is difficult to be beaten and difficult to score against. I think that it's going to be tough to get a position in the top 4. But I hope that we can do it. And if not, I hope we go all the way in the Champions League and get number 7 in Istanbul. Christian Sammy says, who's winning the Europa League? Not Arsenal, mate. Kian Marinan says, what's the price range for Patson Daka from RB Salzburg? Well, everything I've seen today has said around 15 to 20 million, which I think is crazy, and something that we definitely need to do. It's definitely affordable and definitely a Liverpool signing, so I can see it happening. Josh Crouch says, honestly, I think Trent has been great recently. Southgate has made a big mistake. Last few games, he stepped it up. He has, and when Trent's at his best, Liverpool are our best. It's as simple as that. And he could be, he could be a key. He could play a key role for England in the European Championships in the summer. It's as simple as that. But as far as I'm concerned, Southgate has never known how to use Trent. We've hardly seen Trent play for England. A couple of occasions, Southgate's put him in centre mid. He doesn't know how to use him, and that's his fault. As far as I'm concerned, it gives Trent the rest that he's needed for a lot of the season. So I am not asked he's not been picked for England in these qualifiers. I'd love him to be in the Euro squad purely because I think every player wants to be in the Euro squad, and Trent deserves it. As I say, he's one of the best right backs in the world, if not the best. So he definitely deserves it. And for me, I think Southgate's made the big mistake, and I think it shows that he's not. It shows what everyone knows, and that's the fact that he's not an elite manager. I think, as I say, he's just never known how to use Trent, and that's his loss. Let's have a look here. Peter Grennan, do you think Liverpool should buy Kabak? In my opinion, I think we should. It's an interesting one. And that's why I liked the deal for Kabak, because, it looked like a panic signing. Absolutely, I agree. We left it to the last day. It did. But we've been with him previously. There's no obligation to buy. It's just an option. Our hands aren't going to be forced into anything. And I'm sure when he first came in, Liverpool and everyone involved in that transfer went, right, well, you have to play now for your future at this football club. And so far, it's been a bit mixed for Kabak. In the last few games, he's looked really, really good. He looks now as if he has adjusted to English football, and if he keeps it up, I'd say definitely activate that 18 million option to buy, because he's a good option. And when we have all our choices back, he'd be a good rotation player, absolutely. And right now, he looks decent to me, but he's got to keep it up. And it also depends who is available at what price in the summer, I'm sure. So, I do think it's a very, very good option for us. But I'd say that it's hard to comment on this till the end of the season, because for me, he's got to keep up his recent form. He made a couple of mistakes in his first few games, as you'd expect. He's adjusting to English football. He didn't look great against Everton. There was a mistake in there against Leicester, but I think it was more, the fault of Alisson rather than him. For me, the last few games he's played really, really well, and it's a good option for us. There we go. Crouch 10 says, how true are those Daka rumours, and do you think he fits in our role for a striker? Absolutely. I think he'd be a very, very good option. I think he's quick, he's young. He's still got a lot to learn, of course. He's still got to adjust to one of the big leagues. But I do think it'll work for Daka. And I've seen a lot in recent weeks to say it won't be that we're getting rid of one of our front three. It'll be the fact that we're adding to it and increasing our options, on the bench and making better options for rotation and stuff like that. So I do think that's how Daka will be used at first. But look, he's a bagman. He's young. It's low risk with the price that's being quoted. I do think it is very, very likely. I think it's a very much a Liverpool-like signing. Let's have a look. Michael Kabidi says, do you think we should sell Gomez and Matip and replace with Konate? Interesting one. I think Konate is a very, very strong centre-back. Only issue with him is, like Gomez and Matip, his injury list is quite high. He does have a lot of injuries. And for me, he is the French Joe Gomez, to be honest with you. I'm a huge fan of Joe Gomez, huge fan. If he could snap out those injuries, he'd be one of the best, centre-backs in Europe. I think if you put his age in there too. I think he's an outstanding centre-half. I think he's underrated a lot of the time. And I do feel bad for him with his injury history. And Konate is exactly the same. Incredible centre-half. Looks really good for the future, but he needs to, get rid of those injuries and the injury problems that he has. Let's have a look. Anything else? in the comments here. On Patson Daka, Addison says, get him learning off Salah, Mane and Jota. Daka will be fire. Absolutely, completely agree there. Josh Crouch says, just don't get rid of Salah, please. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I've spoken over the last couple of years about Salah, and when people talk about Salah being the one that leaves Liverpool, if one of the front three leaves, I don't think that's people disrespecting Salah. I think that's people saying that if we're going to bring in an Mbappe or Haaland, in order to pay for that, the person that's going to bring in the most money for us is Mohamed Salah out of that front three, and therefore it would be him that departs. But looking at him this season, he's been one of our most consistent players, one of our most important players, and he's a player that I certainly don't want to see. The goal that he's brought this club for the last few years, he's been instrumental, and I think he's been one of the most important and greatest players under Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. I really do. I think it's him or Virgil van Dijk for me. I honestly think that, I completely agree with you, Josh. Let's have a look. Anything else? Jake Mann says, will Tsimikas ever start? Robbo needs a rest. He's currently in Klopp's dungeon, isn't he? God knows when he'll be able to come out. David Newell on Steven Gerrard. He says, I'd like Gerrard to get another 6 to 7 years more management experience under his belt. Go manage abroad and Championship, then come to us. This is interesting because I've seen a lot, like he's been linked with Newcastle in recent weeks and stuff like that. The Scottish League, the SPFL, isn't the greatest of leagues. It's them or Celtic, realistically, isn't it? And finally, he's got the league title. Next season is huge for Gerrard. He's going to be playing in the Champions League with them. And his European record with Rangers in the Europa League has been really, really good. Celtic's record in Europe over the last few years, has been pretty poor. And they struggle to get through them Champions League qualifiers all the time. It'll be interesting to see how Gerrard does them. And for me, I can see him replacing Bielsa at Leeds, which I think is a good thing. I think it'll be in a couple of years. I think he'll replace Bielsa at Leeds. I think it'll be a perfect fit for him, fit like a glove. Gerrard at Leeds, and for me, as a Liverpool fan, I think that would be perfect seeing him at another Premier League club before he gets the chance at Liverpool, because you saw with Lampard, he took that Chelsea job far too soon and was naive, and he got exposed. He wasn't ready for that job at all, and the Liverpool board aren't stupid. I think he will replace Klopp when he leaves in 2024. I think that is the plan, but it will depend on Gerrard and how he improves as a manager, how he gets experience as a manager across those years. But of course, that Scottish title this year is a step in the right direction. And if they do it invincible as well, even better. And his success this season at Rangers, outstanding. And I'm absolutely buzzing for him. And I hope we do. I hope we do see him at Liverpool soon. Let's have a look. Kate 2.0 says, Jack, the audio is a bit tiny, mate. Can you turn it down or not? A couple other people mentioned it also. Let me try. Is that any better? I don't really understand how you say tinny. I will see what I can do. If it's a bit better, let me know. If it's still bad, let me know as well. Thanks for your comment, Kate, on that. Let's have a look. Jake then says, do you think Liverpool should sign Neto or Rafinha? Both very good options, both options that I have an eye on myself. But both players are going to cost an absolute bomb. And it's whether we have the money or are prepared to pay that money for them both. But yes, I would like either of them. I think they're both incredible talents. Was there any interest of Pau Torres for Villarreal? Not that I've seen. I know Craig is a fan of Pau Torres, but not that I've seen, mate. Let's have a look. Anything else on Trent? Glenn Price says Trent can have a break, recharge his battery. Let's have a look. Addison says, I don't like Southgate as England manager. Me neither, mate. Let's have a look. Anything else? Addison also says Daka will be a good signing, I think. I'd agree. Let's have a look. Anything else? Do you think Minamino will stay at Liverpool? Please answer. Well, here's your answer, Jake. I have absolutely no Scooby-Doo. He's one of the players that I think are 50-50 in the summer. I was disappointed when he joined Southampton on loan. I think we've not seen enough of him since coming in. I know Klopp's been very honest since he's gone to Southampton and said, look, he's looked all right when he's been on the pitch, but he's not developed physically. He's not tall enough. Blah blah blah. For Southampton, he scored the same amount of goals that he has done for Liverpool. So one of his finishes as well was outstanding. He's looked really good in a couple of the games. And for me, he's a good player, and we've not seen enough of him. Whether he suits the system or what, it is a weird one. But he's so versatile for the money that we paid. It was such a good deal. And I'm so surprised that he hasn't had more game time. And as I say, I was disappointed because I thought he could be play a pivotal role in this second half of the season for us. Certainly be a good part of the squad. And we loaned him at a time where we had a lot of injuries and Origi wasn't working, our front line weren't clicking. And I do think we should have kept him around really as an option. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the summer. Klopp said when he went to Southampton on loan, that there's no option to buy, there's no obligation to buy. He'd have his chance to come back in the summer and fight for a place in the squad and a place in the first team. And I think it'll be down to Minamino to do that in the summer. And it'll be up to him on his future. It'll be up to the club too. And I'm sure that the conversation will be had there about how much game time he'll have next season and whether or not it's best that he goes. But for me, either way, we'll most likely get a profit on Minamino, but I would like to see him around for a bit more, purely because I don't think we've seen enough of him. I really don't, and I do think he could be a possible. I think he can be a good rotation option for us. Brian Morrissey on Alonso says Alonso will never be number 2 at Liverpool. Jack. Interesting. I do think it's difficult when managers do a job as first team manager. I do think it's difficult for them to then go as an assistant. So I do agree with you there, but a boy can dream. A boy can dream. Darren O'Connor says on Trent that I think Trent being dropped is a good thing. Now this might give him the push he needs this year. He has been below par. Completely agree. I do think he's been better in recent weeks, but I think he's still not been at his best. We know what he's capable of. And though that may be because the whole team hasn't been at their best, Trent hasn't. And when Trent's at the top of his game, we're at the top of ours. It's as simple as that. It's the same with Bobby Firmino too. So I do think it can be a good motivation tool for him. And there has been a lot about, whether it'll hit his confidence or whatever. But for me, you have to use this sort of thing when you're a professional athlete. You have to use this sort of thing as a motivation tool, and it's come at the perfect time of him. He's got a few months now to put in the form of his life, get Liverpool into the Champions League next year, and then be on that plane to the Euros in the summer, or maybe not even a plane, maybe on a bus if it does end up being in England. Let's have a look. Anything else? Carlton Cole asking me if I watched The Office. No, I don't. I don't watch too much TV, to be honest with you, especially not at the minute. I've got too much uni work to do. And when I'm not doing uni work, I'm watching sport. But I have been recommended The Office, and I will watch it. And I will tell you that I plan to watch the UK Office and not the US Office. I've been told that is elite and a lot better than the US Office. Just what I've been told. Let me know if you agree. Carlton, let me have a look. Anything else? Bernadette says Southgate's thrown Trent under the bus. Disgraceful. I think he's done it for a reason. I think he's done it to try and get better form out of Trent because he's a secret Liverpool fan, maybe. Who knows? Jake Mentis, Trent will be back next season. Harry Withers Sharp says, how do you think Trent would do in the midfield? Stupid idea, but interesting. The reason it's an idea is because he was a central midfielder at youth level. He's also played on the wing. But if it's not broke, don't fix it. As I say, he's one of the best right backs in world football. Why would you change his position? It makes no sense. And the reason he evolved into a right back is probably because there was issues with him in central midfield. And for me, there's this thing with not just Liverpool fans, but football fans, where we constantly, when something's not working in one position or, with players, there's a constant thing where people go, oh, but what would he be like in this position just because he's different? And no, he's a good right back. He's one of the best in the world. Fucking keep him there. and it's great. There was issues with him and his defending when he first broke into Liverpool, but in recent years that's got a lot better. It's been shaky at times this season, but every player goes through a bad patch, and it doesn't mean that you need to change his position. It's the same with Firmino. It's an option, of course, and it might be something that we see in the future. But all these people saying, "Oh, do this, do that," and when I've seen Southgate throw him in there, I honestly think it's just people that don't know what to do with him. And anyone that watches Liverpool will know that Trent is one of our most important players. He's one of the most important parts of the system. And yes, it's an option. Yes, it might be a good option, but I'm very much of the opinion that if it's not broke, don't fix it. So that's my opinion there. Let's have a look. Anything else? Conrad says, I think it's sad how Van der Beek had to leave his childhood club just to be on the bench. Yeah, it confuses me, what's going on with him. I don't think he was great against Leicester yesterday. And, of course, Bruno was undroppable because, he's completely turned Manchester United around. But it's a weird one. It really is. And I do feel very sorry for him. Let's have a look. Anything else? Tafsa says top 4 is finished, so I will play the kids against Arsenal. It's not finished. Listen, it's unlikely, absolutely, but it's not finished. It's not completely over, and we still need to fight for, a position as high in the table as we can go. And for me, that would be a stupid decision, a really stupid decision, and definitely not one that Klopp's going to do. He might rotate. He might have the Champions League at the front of his mind, but he won't completely sack off the Premier League. I'm sure of that. There's too much left of the season to go. And, if he does do that and then we get knocked out in the Champions League, people will slate him massively. So why would he do that? Why? Stupid decision, in my opinion. Let's have a look. George YNWA says Sky have the rights for this game, so an early kickoff on Saturday would have been impossible as BT have the early kickoff slot. I get that. I do. I absolutely get that. But what about the Friday night? Maybe they can't do that because of the international break. All of that. I get it. I do get it. But I do think it's ludicrous, and I do think some rules need to be changed. The TV companies need to sit down with the Premier League and discuss this because I think, it's ridiculous that just 72 hours before we play that huge game in Madrid, we play this huge Premier League game at 8 o'clock on a Saturday evening before a Tuesday evening game. I just don't like it. Awar or Basuma in the summer, I prefer Awar, but I like Basuma too. That's my opinion there. Let's have a look. George YNWA says, I love Genie, but he's not a legend. Legends are players like Souness, Kenny and Gerrard. Genie has won the Champions League with Liverpool. He's won the Premier League with Liverpool. He scored 2 goals on one of the greatest European nights in the club's history. As I say, he got us back into the Champions League with his late goal against Middlesbrough. He scored in another semi-final to get us to another Champions League final in Kiev. The minutes he's played for this incredible squad that is the best in my lifetime under Jurgen Klopp, he's a fucking legend, mate. He's a Liverpool legend. And I'll put it as simple as that. I've spelled it out to you. He is a Liverpool legend. It is as simple as that. And I respect your opinion, mate. I get you think that, Gerrard, Kenny, Souness are higher than him. But nonetheless, Genie Wijnaldum is a Liverpool legend. It is as simple as that. And it does confuse me how underrated he is in this Liverpool side. People don't understand his role. They really don't. He is crucial for this Liverpool side, and certainly has been over the last few years. And maybe Liverpool don't think he's worth the wage that he wants. Maybe Liverpool think he's replaceable for a younger player. Maybe Liverpool think he's had his day now. But the time he has spent at Liverpool, the things he has done at Liverpool, in my opinion, makes him a Liverpool legend. It's as simple as that. Let's have a look. Which sign would you make for this? Which sign would you make for this? Which sign? Bloody hell. A lot. I'll answer the question once rather than 50 times like you've put there. But, for me, I'd like to see us bring in a forward. I'd like to see us bring in a Genie replacement, and I'd like to see us bring in a centre back. That's my three. For me, I like Koundé, but I don't think it will happen. I'd like Awar or Jude Bellingham, but I don't think either of them will happen. And you know, in the front line, we all want the likes of Haaland and Mbappe, but that completely depends on, you know, where we finish in the league. I don't think it's possible with our financial situation, and therefore I think it'll either be Daka, Neto, or Rafinha. The three options I think it'll be. I think it's likely to be Daka though. That's who I think we'll end up getting. Though I do think our eye will firmly be on Neto and Rafinha as well. I think we're likely to get either Renato Sanchez or Basuma as our Genie replacement. I think that's who we're likely to get, and I think centre back will make the Kabak deal a permanent one, and that's my belief. Any more comments? I've decided I may as well stay until around 15:15. Anything else? Josh Crouch says, thoughts on Renato Sanchez links? He's flopped at Swansea, but he's been vital to Lille's success in the league. Yes, he's certainly improved as a player since his Swansea days. He's a player that I think would be a bit of a gamble because of his previous in the Premier League. But I hope he's learned from what's happened, and you know, when he's been in the league before, he certainly seems to have done, and he looks a lot better at Lille, in a side that has been doing all right in the French league. And for me, you know, he's a good option, and you know, I think he's quite similar to Genie. And for me, as I say, I think it'll be either him or Basuma that Liverpool bring in as our Genie replacement. I really, really do. A simple comment here from MKH31 saying Neto and Rafinha are ballers. Absolutely, mate. Both so young as well. This comment from Cube as well, completely agree with. Rento would work under Klopp. Completely agree, mate. Darren Hodgson says Liverpool will build back stronger. Completely agree. You know, our recruitment on the whole has been very, very good under Jurgen Klopp. And, you know, for me, I think we will build back stronger, and I think it's very, very important that we do that. I think it's a huge summer. I really do for Liverpool Football Club. Let's have a look. Any more comments? But Bellingham won't join us ever, says Cube. I hope he does. I think he would be the perfect Genie replacement. I really do. I was hoping that we signed him last year before he went to Dortmund. But you know, he didn't. He went to Dortmund. You know, people call him the next Stevie G. I think that comparison is a bit steep, but I do think he's a baller nonetheless. I think he's an outstanding young talent, and I'd love to see him at LFC. I really, really would. And though I don't think it'll be this summer, I don't think it's likely to be this summer because he's, of course, not long joined Dortmund. I would like to see it happen in the future because I think, as I've said, outstanding young talent. Let's have a look. Southgate to yes man, said David Newell. Let's have a look. Anything else? Cube says people don't call Genie a legend because he's 30 and not 25. I think it's because he's not done it over a long period of time as well, but he's still done it. And also, what I say is because, you know, people don't understand his role. A lot of people don't. So people think he's like this sideways and backwards passing merchant. But you know, he's capable of doing anything. He's an outstanding player, and he just does what Klopp tells him to do. And he's been so important, you know, in some of the biggest nights under Jurgen Klopp, and in some of the most important games under Jurgen Klopp. In the biggest of games, Genie Wijnaldum turns up and shines, and he's a hugely underrated player. Under Jurgen Klopp, and in my opinion, one of the most underrated players in the Premier League. I honestly believe that. Let's have a look. Ben Will says Genie is also fit, and that's a plus. I assume you mean that as in like the fact that he can remain fit for a long period of time. Absolutely. You know, as I say, the minutes he plays under Klopp, it shows that, you know, he's a man that is hugely reliable. He played in quite a few different roles. We saw him, of course, play at the back against Brighton a couple of years ago. He's a lad that I'm a huge fan of, and I'm disappointed to see the back of him. Josh Crouch disagrees with me. He says he's not a club legend, but very close in my opinion. Look, we're all entitled to our own opinion. We absolutely are. But for me, he's a legend. It's as simple as that. Swaparigi for Ramsey says R1. It's not FIFA, mate. It's not FIFA. Let's see anything else here before I go. Darren Hodgson says we can still get top 4. I have faith, and Liverpool fans should to please believe. Completely agree. Josh Crouch says, I think one more loss and top 4 is done. Yeah, with every loss, it'll become even more unlikely. But, you know, this Liverpool side is a team that is capable of going between now and the end of the season and beaten. And that's why you just can't rule us out. Like, you can't rule us out in the Champions League because of our history in Europe. You can't rule us out, this squad out, of going between now and the end of the season in the league unbeaten. So, for me, you know, it's possible. LFC Fan 11 says top 4 is close. Completely agree, as I've said. MKH31 says top 4 is possible. When we beat Arsenal, we'll only be 2 points behind Chelsea, and we can go back above them. Yeah, and though Chelsea have improved their defence and look very strong defensively, there are issues in front of goal, aren't there? So there we go. Addison Taramani says play Cade Gordon versus Arsenal. Well, if you're going on that, you may as well throw Ben Woodburn in there as well for his hat-trick in that training game. No, Cade Gordon isn't ready for the first team yet. But there we go. Saulo says get this man to 100k subs. Absolutely. Get us to 100k. And that is our target. Before the end of the season, we want 100k. Look, I'm new to this, but Craig and Connor, for the work they've put in over the last few years, absolutely deserve that 100k. So get them there. Share this. Share the channel. Make new accounts and subscribe. You know, do everything you can to get this channel to 100,000 subscribers as quickly as possible, because there is nobody that deserves it more than Craig and Connor. What you see with them two is what you get. They're both genuinely lovely people as well. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. You share this, you like, you comment, everything that you possibly can to get this to 100,000 subscribers. That would be really appreciated. As Saulo says, do what Saulo says. Saulo makes sense. Saulo knows ball. Do what he says. There you go. FA Cup next year, lol, says the silence. It would be nice for us to, you know, win more trophies. I'd rather the league and the Champions League, but the FA Cup isn't a bad alternative, is it? John Summers, hi Jack. If you could only one player for LFC in the summer, who would it be and why? Well, I assume this is who would you sign? For me, if you're doing that, it would be Haaland or Mbappe, wouldn't it? But they're not, you know, they're not really likely. So for me, I think it's pivotal we bring in a forward and we bring in a centre-back. So for me, it would have to be in one of those two positions. I think Nat Phillips is on for the Ballon d'Or already, so you know let's go for a forward. And for me, if I'm going realistic, I would say Rafinha or Neto, one or the other. They would be my first choice to bring in the front line. So had it not be, you know, that's realistic. So yeah, that's for me. Mohammed asked when Hendo should be back. We've got no idea. It was meant to be 8 weeks. Fingers crossed that he's back before at least the second leg of the Madrid tie. I'm going to do a couple more and then I'm going to have to go. Bahim says even if we get Haaland, Raiola will stick another release clause on him. We don't usually do business with, you know, Raiola, do we? He's an arsehole. And, you know, he demands huge agency fees. And, you know, I think it'll be, I can't see us getting him or Mbappe. I really, really can't. As much as we can dream and we can hope, I just can't see it. But yeah, I'm sure we're interested because every club in Europe is. But the negotiation stage with that twat of an agent will be incredibly difficult. Will Virgil be back for Madrid? Says Phil. Absolutely not. Let's have a look. Anything else? Anthony Davis. This is what I'm gonna. You know, this is one of the last things I'm going to talk about. He says the biggest signings in the summer will be the fans. Yes, you know it's going to be incredible to see fans back at Anfield, to see fans back in stadiums, to have the away following. You know, it's going to mean so much more to walk through them turnstiles, get into Anfield, and to sing your heart out and support your team. And it's not just for Liverpool that. I'm sure supporters from every other club is going to look forward to that in packed stadiums again. And I completely agree that the biggest signing for every team this summer. But at Liverpool, our atmosphere is extremely special, and it'll be huge for us when we have fans back in a packed Anfield. And that is where I am going to leave this stream. Thank you very much for your comments. I apologise for the ones that I was unable to read out today, but I will be back very soon to read out some more. Send all your questions to Anfield Agenda on Twitter as well. We do a podcast every week. We're recording this one on Wednesday this week. Myself, Craig, and Steve Bland do that. So if you send us questions on Twitter, we'll always try and answer them in podcasts as well. Or if not in the podcast, we'll do it on these late night agendas. So just send us a message or a tweet, and we'll make sure we have a look at it and we give it a discussion. It can be football related, it can be non-football related, but we'll have a chat about it. But yes, thank you for joining me. Remember to like, comment, share everything to do with Anfield Agenda, Mundo Sporto 2, our partner channel. Make sure you check that out. But yeah, subscribe, get Anfield Agenda to 100k, and we shall see you all very soon. So